Okay, so I wanted to shoot this video really quick to kind of size everything up before I introduce what I'm doing. So you have the Cricket body, the Valiant body. So the Valiant body is going to get chopped up anyway, and it doesn't really matter how I do it. So I hack the quarters off of it. You know, I cut it right down the middle, and then I narrow it, and then I hopefully can keep a roof on it. Maybe cowl, or I'll just do whatever for the windshield posts. I don't think I'll even bother with the windshield. It's just shade for when I'm cruising around the car show. Because that's the whole thing. I want to have this golf cart available to drive around the car show in September, so I don't die walking around for 3 days in the sun. So like I said, with the Valiant, I have everything to do it. The hardest thing is going to be the trunk lid. And with the Cricket, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. So I've got a pair of fenders that are beat up and rusty, too rough to use on a car. My original plan was to use them to build wide body fenders, bubble flares. Is use them as a base to build a buck out of, to build a mold out of. Same thing with the doors, in case I had to, or decided to, especially on the rear doors, continue that flare into the door. So the doors, each one of them was caved in the center like somebody kicked it. The bottoms are rusted out. There's a little bit of rust on the top. The bottoms of the fenders are rusted out. They're rusted out above the headlight. All this stuff could be kind of hacked together, bondoed up. It's a golf cart. It doesn't matter. I can weld it up. And even so, all of it's gold. It's Aztec gold. I have that rear section that's pretty beat up, but I can pound it out and leave it rough. But, you know, it would work. It's Aztec gold for the most part. But the difference with the Cricket is, like, the wheel well moldings or openings, I want to keep because they're rust free. I want to use them for patches. Although the passenger side one is pretty rough. I do not have a hood. Like, the only real spare hood I have is the one that kids have been jumping on. So it's a little wavy. Probably not something you'd use in restoration, but if I ever needed a hood, it would work. It works fine. So I'm not going to destroy a good hood. So I would either have to make something out of flat metal, which I don't think I'm that talented, or go to the body shop and find a hood, or go to the junkyard and find a similar shaped hood, trim it up, boom, got a hood. The biggest thing is the taillights section. Between the taillights, I need to keep that panel. And it would have to be narrowed, cut down the middle. I have to drill all the spot welds and take everything apart rather than just cut it off. Because a lot of that stuff, I want to keep the patch panels. I need to use that center panel. I need to use the trunk floor. I need to keep all that stuff intact, so I can't just go hacking on it. So the Cricket would be a lot harder. Plus, with the Cricket, I will not have a roof. I'll have to make it into a convertible, like a roadster looking thing. So the Cricket's going to be much harder, much more time consuming to make it work. Where the Valiant, I can just hack it all together and people will still think it's cool. So it's probably going to end up being the Valiant, but I'm just kind of curious what people think. You know, everybody around town knows me as the Cricket guy. So cruising around the car show, I'm going to have 2 Crickets there at the car show, possibly 3, but most likely the wagon and the green Cricket, and then putt-putting around the car show on a Cricket golf cart. You know, how cool would that be? Or, you know, the Valiant. Or if I really wanted to get a wild hair, I'd put the Valiant together and then paint it up, put a couple of bicycles on the back of it and make it look like Furiosa's Valiant. Who knows? I mean, that would solve my trunk lid problem, wouldn't it? But anyway, here's the video. Maybe in the comments you guys tell me what you think. Whether you think it'd be cooler to use the Cricket body or cooler to use the Valiant body. It's looking like Valiant, but I'm just kind of curious what everybody's opinion is. See you in a minute.
So, I just realized I've never shown you guys this thing.
picked this golf cart up out of my buddy's scrapyard, really cheap. Had no batteries. It had wheels on it, just rims, no tires. So, being that it's a 5-lug, I can't find like just wheels, tires. If it was a 4-lug, I could buy used golf cart tires all day long for $10-15 a pop, on rims, aired up, ready to go. Fortunately though, the lug pattern is Dodge, Ford, Toyota, AMC. And I had these low profile tires that I had on the Savoy, and they just fit this. I had to trim the front a little to get them to clear. Found out that there was some fuckery done on the front axle. So the axle is actually sitting to one side. It's not bent. There was a panhard rod, and apparently the bracket broke, and somebody welded it, and they booger welded the crap out of it, and they didn't center it when they welded it. So I need to fix it. But for now, I had to cut the fender wells because they used to come out like that, and I had to cut them like that to clear. And I thought about putting a cool grill on it. What I really wanted to do was find an old rusty, beat up Model T tub, but trying to find a cowl for it that wasn't $500 or more, no. So then I thought, I got all these old rusty Valiant parts, and this car is going to go to the scrap. What if I cut it down and made a chibi Valiant? And you know, it looks ridiculous right now with that overhang on it, which I don't have to have, to be honest with you. I could cut that back, and I probably will. What if? You know, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to cut the fender and move it back to there. Because why not? Now the problem is, one of the problems, is this is the fender that I cut all that out of to fix that 62 fender. And I've got a pile of parts here, and I don't think there's enough there. So I'd have to come up with this corner piece where it curves around. I don't know where any of that is. I think it all got cut into little pieces. And the other problem, I could probably move this maybe, about that far. And so there's where the grill would be. And that is about maybe those bolt holes are about an inch left of center. So that means the other one would come up, and the grill would be like an Edsel grill. It'd be that narrow. So that needs to come off. So that basically means that what I could do is move this over here and make it into a 2 headlight thing, and it'd be custom with a K. Custom. I don't have any plans on making it nice. My intention was to hack it, weld it, and pretty much leave the patina and the rust. So if I get too far into it, then I have to Bondo it and make it look somewhat decent, which I don't know. I am feeling better, quite a little bit better, but I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to jinx myself. Every time I make a video talking about how much better I feel, I end up feeling worse. So I think lop that off carefully and move that back, get it kind of tacked together where I think it needs to be, and then if I like the look of it, do the same thing on this fender. Or I don't think I'm going to do it, but just a thought. What about a Cricket? A Cricket golf cart? I've got a rear section. I've got other front fenders that are in worse shape than this that I would use because this is actually a decent fender, and the one hanging up on the wall in there is worse, but it's still better than those gold fenders I have that are full of rust. And then I've got those gold doors that are really beat up, but you know, if I gut them and turn them into a skin to weld to the edge of the fenders, I
can knock the dents out of it. And it doesn't have to be straight, it just has to all fit. And I can knock these quarters out roughly, you know, not nicely. I would probably have to get creative. I would like to have a roof on it. And I don't have enough roof, and I need that metal for patching anyway. This trunk lid was really nice, and my son and his friends have decided to smack him with hammers. So we're gonna have to have a chat about that. And this section here needs to be saved. So if I were to cut this thing down and narrow it, I would still have to come up with a center section, which I might be able to just bend some metal around and make it look okay. From the look of things, like with that grill, you know, if we ended up here, see the people when they dumped this thing out of the back of their truck, they just flipped it out upside down, and so it crushed the canopy and it bent all the framework and it ripped out the bolts. It did some damage there. It did more damage up front. When I got it, like I said, no batteries, no tires, just wheels, but it really didn't look too bad in spite of all of that. So I got it home, put these wheels and tires on it. These are all core Optima yellow tops. They kind of pass load test. Put them in there, and this thing hauls ass. I mean, I don't know, hauls ass as far as a golf cart goes. It might be going 15, 20 miles an hour, but it's enough to be fun. Now, that goddamn tire won't hold air, so it's going with me to get fixed. Anyway, so we've got, you know, so much width here, so much width here, and those tail lights are about a foot. So if we come a foot there, so basically you got from here to about there. I'd have to come up with something. I've got a trunk lid, because I can still fix those dents. I've got a trunk lid, the original trunk lid off of the green Cricket, which is full of Bondo on one side, and my dad hogged the hole out in the middle to put an XR7 Cougar cover over it. I could sacrifice that trunk lid. Put it there. The one big downside that I don't have is I don't have a hood that I'd be willing to sacrifice. That one hood isn't in really great shape. It's definitely not good enough to use in restoration, but it's good enough to use if I got nothing else. It looks pretty decent at a glance, but if you really start looking at it, it's not. So I don't know, man. The Cricket thing's really kind of... I don't know. And I do need to cut that up. But the Valiant. So if I cut that up, move that back, I got that hood. It's really no good, but it's good enough for me to chop up and use on this. And then what I would do is come back here. I'd have to figure out where to do it, but I want to use the roof. So I would cut inside here and get this quarter. And I mean, there is a lot of room though between here and there. So I mean, we're talking 2.5 feet. So say 24 inches, 29 inches ish. Well, the good news is for a golf cart, this has got a long wheelbase. This company built utility trucks, and then they decided to get into the golf cart business. So this thing is a lot stronger than a lot of the Easy Go and club cars. It actually has a Dana 30 axle in it. So you can take the electric motor off. And I've seen a guy put a pulley on there, or a sprocket, and run it to a motorcycle engine, and it was sticking out over here, and it looked stupid, but it hauled ass. Anyway, so you got... We'll start there, foot. So you'd end up with the Valiant ass end out there. Yeah, it might be okay. And if I was gonna do that, I probably wouldn't want to cut the front fenders too much. But the rear fenders, trying to shorten this. See, if I cut it right here, actually, if I cut it here, cut it like right here, and I cut it like there and took, say, a foot out of it, that would look a lot better. Honestly, that would look better anyway. But basically chopped all this out between the bumper and the back wheel. Would look good, but then what would you use? What would you do to the trunk? Because trying to shorten this is going to be the bitch. I think you'd have, frankly, I think you'd have to come up with a 62 trunk lid. Trying to shorten this trunk lid would be a lot easier than trying to shorten that one. You'd have to take that toilet seat out, narrow it, and then figure out a way to put the toilet seat back in. Which you could probably do. And again, I'm hacking this thing. I'm not making it nice. But I don't want it to be totally hacked either. See, this is how wide this panel's supposed to be. That's another reason for bringing it back, is it would actually widen out a little bit. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I gotta put away all this stuff. We're going to the movies as a family with another family, so I don't have time to mess with it too much anymore, and I got work tomorrow. So I'm just kind of spitballing. I might make a poll or something and see, you know, should I do the Cricut or should I do the Valiant? Again, with the Cricut, there's not going to be a hood. I'll have to come up with something for the hood, and it'll probably end up being a flat piece of metal. Maybe a hood off of some other vehicle. Or hell, I can use the Celica body. No, those body panels are too valuable to chop up. And these are absolute garbage, and the Cricut ones, even those rusted out gold fenders, are good enough for me to make them into bucks. So I can build a wide body Cricut and use those to make fenders. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys and see what you think. Should I do the Valiant stuff or should I do Cricut? See what you think.